Right, hello. Hopefully you're all alright, and hopefully this stream doesn't crash out. But yeah, um, potentially we've been told in the UK we could have another 12 months of lockdown or restrictions on social gatherings. It's not very clear. I can obviously understand it's one of those situations that, as it changes, as it develops, people know or know more as and when. But yeah, I imagine that's the situation for a lot of people around the world. So let's try and stay positive anyway, because otherwise it can become a bit too gloomy, I think, with all this stuff non-stop. But hopefully everybody's all right. I've had a day today where I've tried to get out and do stuff. Went for a walk with my dad earlier, just to get out in the fresh air a bit and have a walk. But I hope everybody's all right. For those of you that didn't see it on the other stream, I've got one of these, which is really cool. Old US IM 179U Radiac, which is surprisingly well made for when it came out. Yeah, I don't know if that's focusing very well on there, probably not. Of course, my webcam doesn't want to focus on something that's obviously in front of the screen. Yeah, there you go. Put some talcum powder in it, your nan, or similar. Yep, a CDV 720 behind me there. It doesn't have batteries in. The annoying thing of the CDV 720, and all right, Max, all right, Lena, the issue is with the CDV 720, as much as it's got like the thinner beta bit at the bottom, I find a lot of beta radiation, it just does not respond to it, even when it should be strong enough to move the needle. And I'm assuming it's because ionization chambers, a lot of them, need it to be, I think, really high energy beta radiation for it to actually affect the ion chamber. No, as in it won't take a reading even if I take this bit off of the screws and put a Geiger directly on it. It might be like 1 or 2 counts higher than background. So I reckon this is a post-radium one, because I reckon that when they were producing these, they probably started off with radium and then switched to something else. It glows green like it is radium, but I reckon that's actually a bit too bright to be radium, because generally radium's quite a dull green. It could just be as well that if they did a radium compound on here, it's more like a modern watch thing. Cheers, Max. Hope you're all right. But yeah, the ion chamber I end up using the most for practical purposes is the British ones. That's one of the ones behind me, isn't it? It's going to be this one. The one where I've taken the bottom off and everything. But the reason I like this one quite a lot is because you can actually register alpha radiation on it by having the bottom section open, like that. So it's much easier to get the needle to move on this. So yeah, I've got a battery in that. So don't know if I've got a light bulb battery in there, probably not. But as you can see, I quite like this one. Just because you can actually get it to register with just things like, ores and whatever if you put it down on top of it. Yeah, I can understand why you're saying that looks like the back of a tower PC. But yeah, I can understand that. But yeah, good old Radiacs and the spin-offs. This is an MD3. Educate yourself about radiation. Watch straightforward physics videos on it, I would guess. Hard to say. A lot of it is just going to come down to doing a lot of reading and research. The only thing you have to be careful with, like Ravensfly says about Google, is that quite often you can get people that put information up on there that are just lying or, not putting out good information. Because, yeah, the amount of videos you'll find, like where I was doing that video today on moving the needle on a CDV 715, because you get people just go, oh, no, it can't be done, and then lots of people just repeat that, even though, When you say the dial is malfunctioning, do you mean the ampere type, the display, like the what do they call them, the filament, or do you mean the actual dial for selecting the range? Yeah, it was a nice warm day to go for a walk today. All right, Dewez or Deweeze. As in, the government has said it could be up till December or later before lots of restrictions are lifted over here. I'm going to try and keep this stream, though, in a nice, good mood, so I don't want kind of any horrific political questions on this stream. Again, Haku, it's not an easy question to answer. What's your budget? Oh, so your actual screen is broken, is that what you're saying? So you have to base it on the rate of the clicking. That sounds good, Wayland. But yeah, the DP63s I think look really nice. But yeah, as I've said before, for very low budgets, get the $30 phone Geigers, because they do measure radiation. Or, get what's available where you are. But things like this are fine if you want a really low budget one. But the problem is with Geiger counters, you can get a few things at the low budget range which are all right. Not great, but all right. Then the issue is, as the price goes up, you have to almost go up, like $150 to $200 before you start getting the really good actual counters. The ones in between are probably not worth bothering with just because they're not much better than the cheap counters, but cost more. All right, cool, Sebastian. Where did you find one for sale? Because at the moment, I know they're pretty hard to come by, aren't they? Yeah, just search my channel for any of the things, and I've normally got reviews of them. Medium for me normally, Louise, but again, it's going to completely come down to your head measurements, nothing else. Yes, but years ago, your man. At the moment, it's a bit pointless asking about where did you get certain masks and at what price, because it's just not the same economy anymore for them. Oh, it definitely did, Darius, because if you saw my video, all of a sudden the rain was radioactive one day. So unless that's from something else that we haven't been told about on the news, it's definitely reached the UK. And could it happen again? Yes, Connor, all I'm going to say is it a GOST cartridge? If it's not GOST, no, it won't fit. If it is it GOST, yes, it will fit. Well, I don't know the actual particular filter you're on about. Iron Man says, I assume that's long lines to buy food are ridiculous. I went to big Sainsbury's near you and it was crazy. Or one of them near me. But yeah, don't say where I live, Iron Man, if you know. But yeah. All right, Mike. There's a piano right over there. Why is that making a weird clicking noise? It shouldn't be doing that. That's not very reassuring. The light still works, but yeah. Assuming it's come out of its socket ever so slightly. There's a piano right over there, so I think that gives you the answer, doesn't it? Yeah, I've got it working, Steve. It works fine now. Looking at different sites, they said different voltages for it. When I tested it with my not multimeter, but the bench thing, it was about 5.5 to 5.6 volts where the needle responded properly. But where I've got 5.2 volts in there, it works absolutely fine, in all honesty. That sounds good, Mike. But yeah, I've got a 1.5 volt battery in there and a 5.2 volt technically, and it works fine like that. Not on a video, Peppy. No, I don't have an Naomi. You have to explain a news article where that's coming up because, again, with a lot of this, you want to check it from proper sources because there's so much misinformation with all this. I'm not saying that isn't true, but, you know, I'd be very careful what you read about Corona because there's so many different people saying different things about it. Cheers, Benjamin. He said, how's it going? Yeah, I'm all right now. I said at the moment, I think it is starting to get to me some of the lockdown stuff after a while, just because it gets really irritating when you can't see your friends or whatever. I don't think you're listening, Blast, Justin. I don't want to sound like I'm getting irritated on this stream, but it gets quite frustrating when you explain something and then somebody else. When it rained a few days ago, or whenever it was, I took the therapy outside and measured the rain, and it was 3 times background radiation. Now, if I take, when I went out for a walk today, I took a Geiger counter out, and it's returning to normal, but it's still high. But I don't know why some people, and I'm not saying this directly at you, but this seems to be a thing I get a lot, seem to think radiation magically just goes away. It doesn't. You know, if radiation magically went away, they wouldn't have had to have cleaned up Chernobyl or anything like that. They could have just left it. That's right, Blast, Justin. It's just, I get a lot of questions like that, and then people sometimes get angry at me because they're like, oh, why isn't it doing this? Because that's not how physics works, you know. You need to shave your beard, Wade, in all honesty. There are some masks that might fit with a very short beard, but in all honesty, if I start trying to recommend you masks that will work with a beard, they're not going to work, so there's no point you wearing a mask. There won't be ballistic lenses for a GP5 because it's not a military mask. Right. I'm going to try and keep the stream positive because otherwise I'm going to get annoyed very quickly with people asking sort of stupid questions, but... Right, iodine pills won't help you straight 6 in all honesty. Iodine is when you need to take it in advance to saturate your thyroid before radioactive iodine gets into your thyroid. Don't mess about with that sort of stuff. You know, if there's ever a proper disaster level event, it might be worthwhile, but I don't think iodine 131 stays around too long, actually, in like post-reactor explosions or whatever. I think it's one of those things that you're exposed to immediately, but stuff now would just be like cesium-137 or whatever. That's interesting, Boris. I must have missed your previous comments. We said we were hit hard here in Bulgaria, 5 to 6 times normal background at its peak, and the media didn't tell anything, and the topic doesn't surprise me, but yeah. I got 3 times background when it rained. A lot of areas now are like sort of 10 to 20% higher than what they should be, you know, after it's rained a few days ago, but yeah, I'm glad you find them interesting, Louise. Sadly, not Mig. I've watched a few things on Amazon Prime, but for the most part, because of the Chernobyl disaster 30 years ago. Fuck's sake. Right, I'm sorry, I don't want to get too irritated on the stream, but when people are saying, well, why is there a burning forest fire in Chernobyl that's releasing all this radiation? How could that possibly happen? It's only like the worst fucking disaster in human history was Chernobyl. I'm all right, George. How are you doing, more importantly? I'm trying to stay positive, but at the moment, yeah, I think that'd be a good idea, Lena, don't you? But yeah, George, how are you doing? Are you recovering all right? Yeah, I didn't think Right at Your Door was very good, but I have seen it. Doesn't the guy get more ill? Oh, I don't want to give out spoilers, actually, for the people who haven't seen it. George says his fever's 102, so I think that's going down, isn't it? Wasn't it 105 before? The lowest, yeah. Still a cough, no sore throat, no trouble breathing. I think I'm coming down to the end of it. I can wait till I'm healthy and get back to Yama. He says, can't wait till he's healthy to get back to Yama. Yeah, sounds good. I'm glad you're overcoming it. Right, I will be blocking just to warn people, anybody that starts going, oh, radiation isn't harmful. Just because, again, if some people want to be fucking retards, then I don't really want them here. So, because, you know, sorry, that's the thing, I don't want to keep getting so annoyed. It's just, when you're not in a great mood, and then you get people come on and just be fucking stupid, it doesn't help. Thank you, Haku. But yeah, I hope I answered your Geiger counter question. But it depends on your budget for it, really. I sort of did Iron Man, I think, a while ago, but I could always do an updated one. It's hard to say, Blast Justin, because it depends. Like, the War Emergency Guidebook might technically be the rarest thing I have, because it's one of those things, should you really own it? Probably not. Because, you know, it was like maybe 30 of the type I have were published for members of a certain, like, council group, you know. The ones I got, Nigel, are fine. Just bear in mind that you get both real ones and 3D printed ones. If you get the 3D printed ones, they could be all over the place in terms of quality. They are Dewees, but they're very expensive. Hello, Altrix, you right? Could be, Oliver. I mean, you'd hope they build more than is needed, and then it wouldn't be needed. But yeah, you always, with a lot of these countries, you have to look at what governments do, don't you? Not what they say. Because that was the whole thing with China. It wasn't bad if you listen to what the CCP said, but, you know, the reality on the ground was very different. But now they've said, you know, lockdown could be to the end of the year or maybe even longer. Basically, they had one of the scientists that was very honest and said, look, you know, the only real way out of this is when there's a vaccine that's mass deployed, you know. And he said you're giving people false hope if we're trying to pretend that, you know, in a couple of weeks we might all be back to normal. Yeah, Bombardier's quite nice, Iron Man. Right, Charlotte, I don't know if you're joking, but if you did seriously drink it and there was something like strontium-90 in it, in 20 years' time you might get leukemia and die. Your bones might start becoming brittle inside your body and deteriorating. I hope you're joking, but, you know, if you knew it was radioactive and you drank it, you have basically won a Darwin Award. Would your poop be radioactive? Yes, probably, but so would you for the rest of your life if you've ingested radionuclides. Sounds good, Jennifer. That's good, Panic Acid. I'm trying to think if I had Trooper. Is that the one they used to put the Iron Maiden Eddie on? Ed or Eddie, whatever it was, the Iron Maiden mascot. Was that the Trooper beer? Or am I thinking of something else there? Hello, Rajiv, you alright? Hopefully, Daniel. I think what's going to happen eventually, lots of masks are going to just get sold en masse on eBay for people wanting to get some money back from, which would probably be good for people who want masks again. But yeah, it's just stupid, all the panic buying we've had recently. Yeah, I'm alright, Rajiv, other than, you know, it getting a bit crazy knowing that lockdown might be going on for months and months and months, yeah. And if it's strict lockdown, that means not seeing some friends, not seeing some relatives. Because I think there is like a big mental health question of how a lot of people will cope and what will happen to the economy, you know. If for 9, 12, 14, 16 months, we're not back to normal, that would probably be worse than letting just people die of the virus. I know that sounds a bit cold, but it's a balancing act. And I think when you go too far one way, as in you say you're not going to do anything, or, you know, we're going to stay locked down for essentially years, then that's probably worse than just letting it run its course. Is the Bereg IRI1 this one, Yornan? If you mean this one, I like this one a lot. It's very basic, because it has a milli-Röntgen per hour scale that's just color-coded. As in green is good, yellow is not so good, red is bad, but it's still very low values. So if you put this near a check source, it will go red instantly. It's not one that, you know, you can use over various ranges, but it will certainly tell you if something's higher than background, you know, in terms of a protective effect of it. So yeah, I do like this one. If you can get them for like £30 to £40, they are very good for that. They use a Soviet SBM20 tube in them, in one side. I can't remember if it's that side or that side. It just has a Soviet Geiger Muller tube, just basically sitting vertically in it. But yeah, they're very simple and straightforward. And they work as a Geiger counter. It's just they don't really tell you what the radiation dose is, other than is it background or above background. But for some people, that's all they want. I'll be careful what I say on here, Your Nan. You'll know the reason why if you've been watching my videos for the last week or so, but I'll be careful what I say. But if you Google it, you'll find results very easily. Straight Six says he lives in the most toxic place in Norway. A lot of old mines around here containing thorium. Should probably have a Geiger counter. Which ones are preferred? Again, it's hard to say. Like I was saying, if you've got a smartphone, like most people have, and it's not a modern Apple one that doesn't have a headphone jack, these are really good. They're not really proper Geiger counters. Yeah, that's the thing, Rajiv. I'd much rather be told, look, it's probably going to be this bad or not this bad. You know, not let's pretend it's going to be fine in a week or two and then keep kicking the can down the road. You know, it's more of a question of honesty, I think. Yeah, so in regards to these are all right. So if I open the Smart Geiger app, how these work, I'll turn the brightness down so you can see it properly. And I'll turn off the thing where it's saying, trying to, dox me my phone, where it's saying the weather in your location. Yeah, thank you, Google, for constantly doing that. So how these work is they're very simple. It's just got a little semiconductor or a little diode in there. I can't remember. And it basically that can detect radiation, and it counts like a Geiger counter, but it's not really a Geiger counter. For everyday use out of those two, Steve, CDV 700, the 715 is to tell you if something's gone horribly, horribly wrong. The CDV 715 is basically for a nuclear bomb has gone off, or you are in a nuclear, power plant meltdown. The CDV 715's job is literally to tell you if you can go in to do emergency stuff, or if you will be dead if you try and rescue people. That's its kind of job. The CDV 700, meanwhile, can pick up background radiation and not beyond. It maxes out at 50 milliroentgen per hour, which isn't all that high, but it does, at least give you a pretty wide user-friendly range. Yeah, so these phone ones are pretty good because, again, so let's say, let's get my Autonite. Let's say that there's, like you said, you're worried about thorium in the ground or whatever near you from old mines. So you've got this. If you came near a sample, so as you can see, this definitely works fine. Oh, the elephant's foot, Nate. But yeah, see, these work absolutely fine. How they work essentially is it's just a little diode, so there's some uranium-based crystals. But yeah, so anyway, these work absolutely fine. They're the cheapest thing I think you can get that are actually reliable. Reliable in the sense that, they're going to work unless something really well priced turns up on eBay or whatever in your area. But the issue is, of course, for most people, do I have a drink here at the moment? No. I don't have any water. I don't have any beer on me at the moment. A bit later on, I might get a beer, but I don't have one at the moment. The Bereg uses watch-type batteries. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's more down to voltage than the actual battery. So if you open the Bereg's battery compartment up, I can show you, actually. So there's the battery compartment, if I can get it open. There we go. See, it's got like 2 flat disc watch batteries in there. It can take 2 different types of battery, but you only need one type in there. And as you can see, it's just got 2 flat disc watch batteries in. So I think it uses essentially 3 volts worth of battery to, turn it into, step it up to like 400 volts, whatever the Geiger runs at. Click the bow, but it could just be YouTube's not sending you the notifications, and there's nothing I can do about that. Is what a lot of radiation, Thomas? In what sense? I've never left it on to run it down, Nate, but I would assume if it's like most Geigers, again, it's going to depend on the type of battery you've got in there. But most Geigers, if you leave them running with a battery in like 40 to a couple of 100 hours. Modern Geigers, though, a lot of them can last 6 months to like a year. Not loads, Thomas. The thing is with Geiger counters, and this is a thing I'll talk about a lot with videos, is that Geiger counters, if they're giving you a dose equivalent, are based on quite nasty things, the dose equivalent, so the readings look higher than they are. Uranium kind of based rocks have a lot of decays coming off of them, but they're not normally very high energy because most of it is U-238, not U-235, which is the uranium used in nuclear bombs. So it's, it's hard to say for definite, but obviously if you saw the video the other day, the stuff I've got that's much spicier, if you want to use that word, that's locked in the gun safe for everybody's safety, because inverse square law and people can't get access to it who shouldn't have access to it. Whereas, like little crystal type things I've got, I just have them in little display boxes where no radon can get out, just sitting over there. Because, the Geiger on my wall doesn't even notice they're there. Or if I took them out of the room, it might go down like 0.01, 0.02 microsieverts, so such a tiny amount, it's not worthwhile. All right, Bradley, how are you? Why would they, Steve, be radioactive? I'd love to know, actually, your reasoning for this. But you're not going to get random items that are radioactive. It doesn't work like that. There's things called neutrons, right? Stuff has to be exposed to neutrons to become radioactive unless it's been contaminated with like radioactive dust on it. You don't randomly just, get items that are radioactive. Screwfix, I think, used to sell them HAB mode, but sadly at the moment most places are out of stock, or they're making sure all their stock goes for like doctors and that. It makes the beeping noise if you didn't hear it, your man. It doesn't have the classic click, it does a beep. Right, the person who's still asking stupid radioactive questions is getting blocked because, I'd rather advise people on stuff that might help them, not people wasting everybody's time going, oh, I like eating stuff that's radioactive. Oliver, microwaves aren't radioactive unless they've got thorium in the magnetron, but microwaves aren't radioactive. They give off EMF, but you shouldn't open up a microwave unless you really know what you're doing, because it can be potentially quite dangerous. Would that work, Guardian, or would you suffocate? I don't know if that would work. It'd be cool if they did, Lena, but I don't know if it'd be even a safe area to go in to get it. And it depends how hot it is, because considering how horribly radioactive corium is, for those of you that don't know, corium is the melted Chernobyl core that's underneath the plant at the moment. I think standing next to the lump of corium kills you, doesn't it? Or gives you a fatal dose of it within like 5 to 10 minutes at the moment. So yeah, it would be a very long time before it's properly cooled down. again, there's lots of stuff like that. FDS man, at some point I might get, but at the moment I have no use for him. I ought to probably stop wasting money, especially if we don't know how long this lockdown's going to last, and potentially lead to a lot of unemployment on, watches when I don't need any more watches. Because that's the thing. After there's one thing I really want to get soon. Once I've bought that, I do really need to get really strict with myself not to keep buying stuff. But as you can see, yeah, we're still in the green, which is good. Just because, there's just, at the moment, it's quite, worrying potentially long-term economic impacts of this. So I have to be very careful, because, again, I don't know when this all ends, if I'll have a job I can go back to, and all stuff like that. I thought I explained to you, Bravo, the reason why not recently. That's not to say for certain, but there is a reason I've been into a few times about it, and I don't like to keep repeating it over and over and over again. I like both, Peppy, but I prefer the ARs over AKMs. Of course, I've never shot any because I'm in the UK, but AK-74s over AR-15 style platforms. All right, Henry, hope you're doing all right. I'm doing as good as can be, I think, considering, there's a lot of people obviously doing worse at the moment, aren't there? But I think at the moment it's mostly trying to stay sane, and I think what doesn't help, as I said in the video, honestly, in all honesty earlier, is when you're trying to do stuff to lighten people's moods, and then lots and lots of people, all they want to do is come up with crazy conspiracies for Corona, or blame people for it, or, blame me for it. I've had a few people doing that, It's a bit strange, but again, it's trying to stay positive, I suppose, on all this stuff. It's more of a mindset attitude, I guess, but what's that about David Ham, EJR? Yeah, as Rajiv says, a lot of it is all in mine. I believe you there. Cheers, CMDR. That's the thing. I think it is really nice when you get nice messages, but I think the problem is a lot of people who appreciate people's content on YouTube don't necessarily, say well done or thank you. I know a lot of people do, but so what ends up happening is sometimes you'll go on, you'll see like 10 people calling you a dickhead, and then nobody, saying, oh, that was a great video, I really enjoyed that. And then sometimes it does make you think, oh, why am I bothering? But Liam said someone actually said that COVID-19 was man-made to stop Bernie. Stop Bernie Sanders being nominated. You can't make it out, man. Very strange. All right, Roman. I think in hindsight we'll learn lots of things, and thank you very much, Roman. It's hard to say though, isn't it, at the moment, because obviously I think what we're going to have to see is what countries do well when it's all over and what don't. The problem is of the UK is, I think what a lot of people have been saying, and I can certainly agree with this, is a lot of us would feel better about it if we were just told the truth, or if people were honest to us. So if the politicians said, look, it's going to be bad, there's going to be a lot of economic damage, and all this, it wouldn't be as bad. But I think the problem is when they keep kind of stringing people along, and then that's also when a lot of people stop following the lockdown rules because they're not being honestly told how long it might go on for. Oh, and there's somebody else coming back, spamming comments. Brilliant. So somebody is making multiple accounts to spam the same idiotic bullshit. I'm really pleased that they've got nothing fucking better to do with their lives. Don't answer him, Nate. I'll give you a warning. Do not respond to trolls, please. Because you encourage them if you're actually giving them any sort of feedback. All right, I'm glad that helped you then, Magnificent Bar Steward. I went out today for a walk in the countryside with my dad. It's quite nice. There are mods on. Yeah, it did cheer me up a bit, in all honesty, earlier going for a walk, in the countryside, hearing birds song and all that, getting a bit of exercise. And that's what they were saying earlier, David. I've answered that one a few times, Hugs. The reason is, no, I won't be getting more deactivated guns because they're a bit of a waste of money in the UK now because they keep getting more and more expensive and they get more and more sort of welded shut. As I've said before, there'll be more antique guns I'll potentially get because then they're still fully functional guns. They're just not classed as guns by the law. But there's no point really for me getting a deac because if you're spending probably sometimes more than an antique for something that, has been chopped to pieces and welded shut. People I've known for ages, British Empire. That's what they were saying, on the thing yesterday, at their press conference yesterday, that it could go on past the end of the year. Again, that might not be a full lockdown. It might be just some social distancing, but the problem is they're not honest with anybody. It'd be nice if they said, here's a few different ways it might play out. We'll have to adjust as need be, rather than saying, well, we can't answer that this time. We can't answer that this time. If you were socially avoiding people, Alan, surely you could go metal detecting, couldn't you? I'm glad it helps you, Vapor. Because I was saying, it is nice when you get people saying, you're keeping me sane, or you give me a bit of enjoyment, and stuff like that, rather than it being just the people coming on to waste everybody's time. But Canada wants 2 years, Trent. That's Oh, that's what I said, Daniel. You can legally own them, but you don't need a license to possess them. So, that's literally what I said, isn't it? If you're making a point, I've missed it there, I'm afraid. You can't shoot them without a Section 1 or whatever. But the point is you can own them. Cheers, Wade. I get a lot of people offering that, and I do appreciate it, but who knows when that's even going to be at this point. Yeah, exactly, Hale. And I think this is all the thing, isn't it, in the UK where the tests aren't getting done and there's not enough personal protective equipment. If they literally said, look, we fucked up, we fucked the testing up, there's not enough testing, we're going to try and get on top of it, but we really messed up on it, people would say, okay, but it's when they come up with excuse after excuse, and each day it's a different excuse, and it still doesn't get resolved, like they were saying with the PPE. Oh, we've got the PPE, but we just can't get it to the doctors. Oh, we're going to get the army to drive the PPE, so the doctors will have it soon, and it's still not turning up. Oh, now we're waiting for some PPE from Turkey. Oh, but now this PPE isn't coming, Just be honest and say we don't have it, But they won't do that because obviously honesty and politicians doesn't normally go together, but I'm afraid not, Johan, other than the fact that a lot of them get put on, or Johan, other than that, I bought quite a few from eBay. But I'm afraid not. Do you have one? Because obviously if you have one, you can at least take photographs of the circuit board before doing anything with it. But yeah, obviously if you want the full schematics, I'm afraid I don't know. It's probably classified if it's, like military MOD stuff. We weren't like the Soviets who put, like schematics and all that inside every, one of our things. We are the opposite, basically tell the people the least amount of them as possible. I saw a video like that, but I don't know where it was from. But yeah, it's pretty disgusting, isn't it? So covering it up again, Regiven, still not learning their lesson. The Shums 69 beers 420. Yeah, exactly. Straight 6. That's the problem. Over here, a Diac Enfield now would be like close to $1,000, I think, for something that's totally Diac'd. You know, whereas that's what I'm saying. That's why I have no more interest in getting more Diacs, just because they're getting more and more expensive. Right, I hope you stay safe and secure mindset. It's hard to know what's going on, isn't it, in a lot of places? Because that's the debates that people keep having over here, is at what point will people stop obeying this stuff altogether, or what point will people start rioting, you know, or looting over stuff like this? That's good. A woke gamer. Did you manage to find one for a good price? You can, Toby, if you've got something like a Ucara or similar, but the laws are all over the place for our stuff. Oh, to answer your question, Skim, I said, according to my risk analysis within 3 months, what, everything's going to go really bad within 3 months? I might have missed part of your comment there. Or do you mean in the UK in 3 months it might get quite bad? Well, Jingle Joe, in the UK, that's what some of the politicians or some of the doctors they had advising them finally admitted yesterday at one of the conferences. You know, rather than skirting around the question every single week, or no, every day, in all honesty, when they get asked how long it might go on, or is there a time frame? Oh no, we're following the science. All right, in the Netherlands. All right, sounds good. Secure mindset. Obviously, stay safe. Don't do anything that might endanger you. But Diana, I'm not sure if we see him comment. Mike's still here. Quite often he listens and things, but he's not always chatting. You know. That doesn't surprise me, Dawn Miner. I think I heard something about that, but I've not looked into it. But is that just due to lots of places requiring logistics to get food? And then if those places are locked down and not transporting, people aren't getting the food, are they? Yeah, exactly, Marty. They follow the science when it suits them. So it's basically it's politically correct science. Maybe that'd be a way of wording it. It's a bit worrying, isn't it, when they don't want to do everything scientific advisors say. They just want to pick and choose bits of science, which is generally pretty dangerous. The Wee says he bought a few Russian masks on eBay and he still hasn't received them. Probably Russia won't be shipping because they banned PPE exports. I don't know if old masks would be covered by that, but I'd ask for a refund if they're really late. You keep reminding me I have to get something refunded I bought months ago that still hasn't turned up. It wasn't very expensive, but it was just, goods from China. I think I ordered it before Corona was a known thing, and of course it hasn't turned up. So, I was going to try and jump to where I was in the chat because I think I'm missing some comments here. Tea's going to be in short supply. I haven't heard that. I'm lucky I've still got a box that's got quite a lot of tea bags in it, but it'd be very hard UB40FX because the only way of really getting an unissued mask would be to buy it from Avon, and they won't sell to a civilian. You need to buy them from Avon as a company job lot. Well, 69B is 420. It's not changed since 2 minutes ago when I told you it was the Shums, if you weren't listening. You don't even need to be a Hunter straight six. You can just own them under certain licenses. But again, there's lots of caveats with it, so a lot of people don't bother. Somebody did indeed say that, Chunky Monkey. I hope that's not right, but probably coffee as well, secure mindset, I'd say. I do drink more coffee now than I drink tea, but I don't like the idea of either of those running into short supply. It's just a cherry on the shit cake at the moment, I think. Yeah, that's a fine price for when you're nan. It will tell you if you're at background radiation or higher than background radiation, which for some people, as I said, is all they need with a Geiger. It's not very good if you wanted to know how hot a sample is, because pretty much every radioactive check source you could ever use it on is going to make the needle go off the scale. But if you simply just want a Geiger counter to know if it's background radiation or if you're in danger from radiation, yes, it will tell you that perfectly. Cheers again, Roman. He said, what's the best gas mask to shoot with? I've tried out my FM12, Shums R4 and M15. Still can't name those sights for them. Without tilting my head at an uncuffed by a 45-degree angle. Hard to say then, because I found the Shums is very easy to shoot with when I've tried it with air rifles. Have you got the filter on the Shums or have you got a hose on it? Because if you're using the filter directly on the Shums, try putting the hose on it. But I don't know then, because I've never had any issue with the Shums or the FM12 when I've done like test videos with them. The M15 again has triangular lenses, so it's not the best thing for aiming with, but it's obviously good enough for the Israeli army. So I don't know what it's like over there, Aussie, but over here apparently they're just not processing any at the moment, because of the other uses they're having to do with the police and that. Secure Mindset says his preference of shooting goes to FM12. As long as you get a decent quality hose, Roman, they're fine. Again, yeah, having the filter directly on the mask is less of a failure risk than having the filter on the end of a hose. But hoses do make aiming a bit easier, potentially. But yeah, it's hard to say, because I think it's going to depend what sort of vest you're wearing it with, what rifle you're using, how the sights work on the rifle. Oh, that's good, Truth Loving Honor. I've not tried Trident brand one, but the Draper one's absolutely fine. It's certainly at the very high price end, South Country choppers. If it was in very good condition or pretty much unissued, with the bag with some spare filters, I might say it's worth it. But if it's just the mask on its own, I'd say no. Peach said a red dot would be better for a gas mask. I think you might have to try Roman experimenting with different optics as well, like Peach said, because I think you might find that some scopes, red dots or whatever, work better for you than others do. I think there's a lot of variables in it, really. Yeah, I've done some videos on that, Kevin, with an air rifle scope, just plinking with an air rifle. And again, it's going to depend on the mask scope and the air rifle and like how the stock goes to your shoulder with the different rifles. But in general, some masks are all right for it. Oh, Daniel said also mount the optic higher. Lead shielding, Yonan. Wow, you can buy lead on eBay. That's what I do, if you just want to literally buy lead. Baton? What do you mean by that, Peaky Blinder? Do you mean there's a katana there? That's not a baton. Some sort of crossbow then, magnificent, but that's not really related to Corona, but at least it's like Mad Max for some reason and becomes a more uplifting topic than most of the stuff we're on about at the moment. I wouldn't advise people to do illegal behaviour straight 6 diesel on here. But that's a good point, Daniel, for the people in the US, yeah. Or at our range, yeah. I suppose you could probably do that in several ranges, yeah. And Steve says there are 45-degree iron sights for use with optical scope on competition rifles. I suppose that's good advice as well. Like, slingshots are perfectly legal, Thomas, until, I guess, enough idiots do stupid things with them. But at the moment, they're perfectly legal. I wouldn't accept anything like that, Diana, except for people I'd know. And also, the legality is you can't simply trade them with people anymore. Thanks, Peach. Yeah, it seems like somebody a bit dodgy, in all honesty, I think. So yeah, thanks, Peach. What are you saying? Secure mindset needs a lot of training to use efficiently. What's that, a mask with all the stuff? But yeah, I'm sure you can, Iron Man. If you're about to put behind me, where would I fit them? Oh, a slingshot. Yeah, you definitely need to practice a lot of a slingshot, don't you? Otherwise, you'll keep screwing that up. Knives themselves aren't illegal, Wade. It depends what you're doing with them, like lots of our laws. Again, though, Iron Man, the problem is the space for it in the first place. You know, I would love to have a load of shelving, but there's just not enough space for it, isn't there? Because the thing with these boxes is you can stack the boxes up, but again, you can stack boxes up on other stuff. But for a shelving unit, I'd need an actual gap there to put the shelving on. I think it's a good idea if I had the space for it, but I don't. I don't think so, Bravo, no, but a lot of our laws are very strange with stuff like this, where something is legal, but then a slight variation of it is illegal. It depends how it's done, secure mindset, but like I said, I don't mind answering some questions, but I'd rather just answer them as like text type things, you know, and then have them in there. I don't really like talking on things other than when I'm actually doing a video myself, you know. There's a GP5 there, look, you can see it there, it's above my head. I won't stay on too much longer, just because I want to not get too worn down with some of the questions that keep coming in, that, you know, are literally, people could Google them, type questions. Spanished said, do you think the 3M 3200 or 3M HF52 respirator can work against the coronavirus? Right, my answer to that is, can you get the real 3M filters for them? If you can get the real 3M P3 P100 filters, yes. If you can only get the Chinese filters, no. I would not, you know, trust the Chinese filters at all that are their 3M copies, because they are literally garbage. I just find it interesting. Well, like I've said, Iron Man, I really like S10s and like FM12s and that, but it's going to depend on the condition of it and how you're sealing it to bury it. You just want something that's made from rubbers and plastics that won't break down easily. No, I think more than just you are in that position, Solid Snips. Yeah, when I think once people's patience wears out, it could get quite ugly in places. Yeah, exactly. Both those reasons. You can't really keep, people off work indefinitely, especially when they've said about short-term financial things that are still going to wreck the economy. If they then keep extending those things, and especially if they don't expend a lot of the welfare schemes with them, you're in big trouble. As Daniel has just answered, solvents are not universal. For example, acetone is very different from rubbing alcohol. You know, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Wade. But the issue is, what was I going to say? Like people were saying is the issue is you'll get a lot of people saying you can't recommend rubbing alcohol because it breaks down stuff. It's well, if you're using it on a decent, well-made gas mask, they're designed to withstand CBRN weapons. They are not going to be broken down by a bit of rubbing alcohol that you just wipe over it. But again, bravo. The answer to all of that is when I can afford to, when it's sensible to do so, and lots of other things. I've got the thing is, in terms of a helmet for like really good levels of protection, I've got the British, the modern British one. What's it called? The Virtus Revision or whatever it's called. It's got a stupid name, but Cobra Battle Skin or whatever the fuck they call it. But the one made from that thermoplastic stuff that replaced Kevlar. It's like that's my best helmet by a mile. I can wear it with any of the masks I like, but there comes a point where it just comes down to space and a lot of other factors. I think they do something again. I'm sorry, I have no idea how your name's pronounced, but yeah, like the thing of vacuum cleaner bags and some of the things is you'll get people saying don't recommend them because they're not as good as like proper CBRN masks. Well, nothing other than CBRN masks are as good as CBRN masks. But I think again, when you run into the problem of people want something that's better than nothing, there's stuff they can get access to. So it's an option between, a bit of protection or nothing. Most people would want something. But then, when you do a video on it, that's when you end up getting the people go, oh, but you're giving people advice that will get them killed because, they can't not, I'm sure you know what I'm getting at, but. That sounds good at least, Jeff. I'm glad you're making good use of the time. I really don't know, Sajed. You'd have to ask the people who are actually into shooting. I would say with an antique, you'd probably want to try and get more of a shotgun certificate type one because I know FACs are much harder to get. Thank you, Altrix, but yeah, is that a good or bad thing? I mean, if they lift it in New York, that could go horribly badly. The good analogy I heard earlier on the thing on the radio was that consider lockdown like you're parachuting. Your plane's crashing, that's coronavirus, or coronavirus is gravity, whichever way you want to look at it. So you've bailed out with your parachute. The parachute like lockdown is working because you've not fallen to your death. But the idea of mid-pandemic then saying, right, we can get rid of the parachute now while you're still falling, I think that was quite a good analogy. They said it a lot better than that, but I think that is a good way of summing it up in some degrees. That you could probably ease a lockdown and then tighten it as needed. But the idea that probably just get rid of everything all of a sudden because people have had enough isn't you know Yeah, I'd agree, Jamie. I don't think he's on this stream, unfortunately. But, no, I hope you're doing all right then, Sing. But yeah, it's tough, isn't it, for a lot of people? Well, Owen, I don't know if oil can get any lower at the moment. So if you've got spare money and think, with everything going to shit, maybe it would be worth investing in oil. Massimo said, "How do you keep your mark collection?" Oh, a mask, I assume you mean. Do you have a bunch of mannequin heads to keep them in shape and display them? No, I fill some of the older ones with paper, like this one, so that keeps the shape of them. But no, I don't keep them on mannequin heads. The older, more valuable masks are all on proper shelves and that in satchels. But a lot of masks that, aren't historically valuable or tough enough, I just put in boxes like that. I try and stack them so they're not got a load of weight on each other, But like I said, I've got too many masks. That's the short answer for it. Radiation King says he's got two S10 filters coming, and I'm wondering if putting an extra O-ring in will keep seal on GOST, or will it just damage the thread? It's hard to say, as in you're going to put them on a GOST mask. It's really, really hard to say, because some people find something works fine, other people find it doesn't. I would say if you're determined to use a GOST mask with an S10 filter, put an extra O-ring in, put the filter in, then maybe put some plumber's tape or duct tape over it once it's in there, like the thread. Yeah, for the person asking a very random question about House of Rising Sun, considering isn't the first lyrics "There is a house in New Orleans they call the Rising Sun." I think that explains where it is, doesn't it? I don't think there's a New Orleans in the UK or whatever. There's Orleans in France, isn't there? And then New Orleans is like the American version, hence like New York and all the other places where the Americans have "new" in front of the name of a place from another country, But I know, but I was just joining in the answer, Eltrix. If you get an older FP5, Roman, yes. The problem is newer FP5s aren't GOST anymore, they're NATO. At some point when I can dig out all my FP5 filters I've got around the house, because I don't know where they all are at the moment, I'll do a video of calipers, basically showing how they're not all actually the same thread on them. I mean, what I do, Jamie, is store them generally with plugs in. If they came with plugs, I replug them up unless they're currently on a mask. That makes sense, Punch Monster. Didn't know what, Eltrick, sorry. Again, it's a bit harder the chat moving at this speed to know exactly what people were saying about. That's good, Nate. Yeah, the problem is not all PPM-88s are the same, are they, in that regard? But I do know some modern Russian masks are NATO now. Who is still using GOST, Marty? Some of Russia, some of China. I think a couple of companies independently in a few other countries still make masks in GOST. But the answer is people who should know better, really. I understand why GOST and NATO are different things during the Cold War, but it would be nice if everybody just made an international filter so you never had to worry about filter compatibility, That's an excellent deal, Major. Most people would never get them for that price. You want to go back to New Orleans? Okay. GOST itself isn't a problem, straight 60s. All the problem is with GOST filters is that good luck getting GOST filters easily that are brand new in date and everything in, a Western country. It's kind of like if you had something that required a certain type of battery and then barely anybody made that battery anymore. And every time you wanted to use the device, you had to keep buying more and more batteries at very expensive prices, and then sometimes finding out they weren't even the right batteries. The USSR made some very interesting masks and guns. I wouldn't say they were the best. I mean, they at least made a mask for every single civilian during the Cold War in a sense, so you can give them that. Yeah, I would agree with you there, Magnificent Bastard. But again, yeah, like you said, it's just more of one of those annoying things where the amount of arguments as well that start over GOST versus NATO, where cheers again, Roman. I'm pretty sure if they were made in 2006, they should be GOST, because I've had one that was 2006 that was definitely GOST. The FP5s I've had that are the ones that don't seem to be GOST anymore are like 2010, 2011, 2012 sort of period. Polish FP6 filters are definitely all 40mm NATO, the ones that replace the FP5. But yeah, thank you again, Roman. But yeah, the answer is for, most of the people with standardization is, like you'll say, you'll recommend a filter to people, and then it will turn out the company that made them did both NATO and GOST ones, and somebody will buy the NATO one, not the version like I had or somebody else had that was GOST, and then say, you're lying. That's not a GOST filter, that's a NATO filter. When in reality, it turns out lots of companies did both GOST and NATO ranges of their own brands of filter, just to make everything as confusing as possible. Altrick says, go and buy a GP5. Pull the commercial. Pull it, pull it, pull it. Stop it! Oh yeah, a lot of it, Iron Man was asymmetrical, wasn't it? Warfare, basically, back in the day with the Soviets. They knew they couldn't compete with aircraft, which is why they, built more anti-aircraft guns and everything. It's a sensible way of doing things if you can't afford to, fight an enemy on the same sort of way and win, If it's just got a dent on the side, truth, love, and honor, but it's not on the bottom or the top, it should be fine, because then it's probably just dented it. Do Nando's do home delivery at the moment, Hunter? Because I know a lot of places are at least starting deliveries, aren't they? Which Afghan war, Bravo? The Soviet Afghan war or the modernish Afghan war? The Soviet Afghan war would have probably been Shum 41s and Shums and MM1s for tank crews and vehicle crews. I'll head off in a minute though, but thank you for all the people who've actually had a good laugh tonight. We've been buying a takeaway every week at the moment from places that have had them up. Not every day of the week, obviously, but about one day a week at the moment. We're just ordering a takeaway because why not? Otherwise I think we really would go crazy if you were reliant on, certain foods from supermarkets non-stop. I know if you want to go to the effort, you could buy certain food from supermarket, cook something nice. But when it ends up just becoming like lots of processed foods that are left, getting a takeaway is probably actually healthier in some regards. Yep. They call Afghanistan the graveyard of empires, Chunky Monkey. The point is you don't really want to start a war in Afghanistan. Yeah, good saying, truth, love, and honor. Everybody's going through it, so yeah, just stay positive and make the best of it, I suppose. Yeah, exactly, Oliver. You have to be careful that nobody's coughed all over the packaging, I guess. But, if you're pouring it out onto a plate from... What I normally do when I have takeaway food is we've put the plate in the oven anyway, so it's hot. Then when you get the thing, I just directly pour all the contents of containers on a big plate that I've had in the oven to warm up. I've not actually had any bangers and mash in ages. I wish you were right, Mean Machine. I mean, I know that's a joke, and it is kind of funny, Don't worry about coronavirus. It was made in China, so it won't last long. But sadly, I think in reality, it's going to be here for a very long time. That's good, Truth, Love, and all that. I'm pretty sure I got a. I'm pretty sure the Spassiani I bought, Mike, Weapon Collector, came from Russia. But the other one I bought, I'm pretty sure did come from Lithuania or somewhere, yeah. So yeah, you can get some masks, being sold by some sellers who are just selling them for the same prices or only like 10% more, who aren't dicks, but... Alright, Peach, I'm sure if I tried to make it, it would break, but... Avagadu, thank you very much. Apologies if I butchered your name. He said, USA Essential Courier here. Thank you for the vital information across these streams. Daily 3M7503 user. All right, I'm glad it's good for you. I'm glad it actually has helped people with some of the information, Because, as I said, the thing that kind of can get me down at times is when you don't hear people saying thank you, even if they do and I just, don't notice it, or whatever. Or they're humble and don't want to say, thank you. But then you get the... all the people coming on to whinge like, oh, because you recommended this mask, I can't buy it now because it's out of stock, or I bought this mask and I didn't like it. Toby says, thank you for the videos that have kept me sane through this pandemic. I won't send a super chat most time right now. I totally understand, but yeah, thank you for the kind words anyway. I've got a lot of stuff, Altrix, that's still delayed. I actually need to contact some sellers, I think, to make sure it's definitely coming, ones especially where they didn't provide very good tracking info. That's a shame, Hunter. It's bad enough for pubs as it is. Although a lot of stuff that's bad for pubs is the awful chains that run a lot of pubs, rent them out, and then screw the landlords that actually rent the pubs. If that makes sense, like how I think it was Green King that was the dick company in our local area, and what they would do is they'd get. It might not have been Green King, but I know they've done this sort of thing as well. They'd rent pubs out to, people, publicans, whatever you want to call the people running a pub. And then the second year, they would set the rate so much higher that basically they were setting people up to fail. Yeah, I'd agree with you there, Peach. The weird thing for me is some of the stuff I need to try and get a refund on is stuff I bought months ago, So if it's lost, it's lost, and I need to claim the money back on some stuff before it runs out of the period where sellers have to refund you. Because I've given some items like 2.5 months. I think if they're not coming now, they're not coming. There's only been once I've had an item turn up like a year after it was meant to be delivered, and that was because I guess it had been stuck in customs. But Tech Tyler says he got a new GP5 Soviet mask. Well, when you say new, you mean new old stock. But yeah, I was wondering what things to keep in mind. Probably best not to use the original filter that came with it due to the asbestos inside. But unless you've got another filter that's GOST, don't worry about it. GP5 is very basic, but it is at least a mask, Anyone seen a postie going on? That's a good point, Daniel. Oh, it depends what the mask is weighed. Amazon's fine to buy stuff from, like eBay, but again, it depends. Are you buying a good mask? Put some more talc type material in it, Briggs, or shave your hair off. That's the easy solution. I know a lot of people don't like doing that. Yeah, Crazy Egg, that should work, but apparently, again, lots of companies that have done DIN 40mm, some of their filters also are 40mm NATO. So you might buy it thinking it's DIN and then find out it's a regular NATO filter. It's like you can't win with some of these filters because the companies have made several threaded versions of 40mm and they're never very obvious what they are on the order page. Anyway, I'll head off now. Big thanks to everybody that super chatted or, gave me kind words. I'm pretty sure the CFF frees the French 40mm filter. No, it won't without bodging it on, because it's a 40mm NATO, not a 40mm Goss filter. Tenny Army Barbie said, found a Spassiani TR2002 gas mask on eBay, 125 USD, and I got it coming. It's a bit expensive one, but it's a lovely mask. I would recommend it, and with mask prices at the moment, I think you'll at least really like the Spassiani. Connor Wardrop says your streams are always amazing, keeps me saying, well, I'm glad it is. Right. Night everybody. Thank you everybody that's been nice and all that. I will stream tomorrow. I'm sorry, I'm just getting rid of the weirdo claiming coronavirus is made up just as I go off. But yeah, see you all. I'll be on tomorrow. Don't know the time yet. Again, it depends what I've got going on tomorrow, but I will be on at some point. But yeah, see you all. Have a good evening, everybody.